You're now listening to Directing Magic with your host, Marquette Jones.
So, hey everybody, this is Marquette. Welcome back to the Directing Magic podcast. And today we have a wonderful filmmaker here from Kansas. So I'm branching out of my LA, New York bubble for Savannah Rogers, who's a filmmaker based out of Lawrence, Texas. She writes, directs, produces, all that good stuff for professional amateur productions. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's my little startup production company.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be a blast.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about the projects that you have going on right now in terms of like just titles and where you are with in terms of production, pre-production, development, festivals, whatever.
Sure. So right now I have a couple of shorts in post-production. One that I'm really focusing on right now is a short doc about Black Lives Matter activists who are also drag queens. And just talking about basically, and it's a short little profile piece, but it's basically talking about how, drag and activism can be, one and the same, and how you don't have to, they aren't mutually exclusive things. And so I thought, that these people that we have are really interesting, and let's just make a little short doc about it. And, and I've got some other little narrative projects that are in post, a comedy, a drama, 2 dramas, I think, and, just writing the next couple projects right now.
What is the name of the documentary about the Black Lives Matter activists? We
don't actually have a title yet, unfortunately, because I have a co-director and we were talking about titles, and he had a title that I didn't like. And so now I'm just picking my brain and trying to see what really fits, and if the interviews we have, if they say anything that's noteworthy, that could be a good title. But one of our producers for it, somebody who's been, giving us consistent feedback, is the executive producer for Paris is Burning, Dave Lacey. Mm-hmm. And so it's really just a short profile piece, but having him on board to kind of guide the process has been really cool.
What's the name of the activist that you're profiling?
One's name is Keith Alexander. They're a drag queen that goes by a lot of glitter, and they're a queer activist and Black Lives Matter activist, and they're also, First Nations, and so it's an intersectional kind of activist thing. And then the other's name is Rayfield Lewis, and he is he's a drag queen, and he does a lot of cool activist work in Lawrence.
And are they both, so they're both in Lawrence?
Yeah, they're students at KU.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's great that they're doing this, young, and they're, doing all that kind of great work now. And so not only are they, making an impact now, but they're laying the groundwork for all the future kind of activist work they do.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't sound like it needs to be short. I mean, it sounds like that's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, well, the reason we're keeping it as a short profile is because we're not necessarily following them doing a ton of different things. It's not like we're following them going to Flint, Michigan. We're not doing that. We're just talking about the intersection of those two identities specifically. So there's not so the reason that it's short is just, in the interest of time, and if it expanded into something longer, we'd pursue it. But right now it's just a short doc.
Mm-hmm. And you also have a web series that you're working on called Polly?
Yeah, so that's been in development. I co-created with my partner, Riley Overgaard, and, it's just about a polyamorous triad moving to the suburbs. And we're going to see if we can find some money to make that one happen, because I think it would be a really fun comedy, narrative, of course. Mm-hmm. And, there's just a lot of potential there, because there's so much ground that hasn't been covered in terms of polyamorous relationships. And so what we try to do little company is just create and write work that, you know, is subversive just by, you know, the characters that we create, but also like it's stuff that everybody can relate to and stuff that everybody can find funny. I think young people get a lot of flack for trying to be quote unquote politically correct. And I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I don't know if I can cuss on the show. But I really do think it's a bunch of bullshit. There was like this funny post I saw online that was like, where somebody says, you know, God, what was it? It was, you know, calm down. It's just a joke. And then someone said back, why don't you learn how to tell one? And that's how I feel about all that. It's like, sorry that we don't find, you know, epithets funny, but I sure do love a good meme, you know, so I don't know.
So what is the premise of the show? Who are the characters
so
within it?
Yeah. So we've got 3 characters. One, like a pansexual guy. His name's Jake. And then, we've got 2. And so that's the guy. And then there are 2 girls. One's bisexual, one's pansexual. AJ and Cricket. Cricket has Asperger's. You know, she's also like a grad student, and AJ is a lawyer, and she's tough as nails and all that stuff. And,
can I ask you what?
Sure.
What do you mean by pansexual? Forgive my ignorance, but I'm going to have all kinds of questions like that.
Sure. Pansexual meaning attracted to somebody regardless of their gender performativity. Like falling in love, like for me, you know, because I think it's specific to the individual a lot of times. So I'm pansexual, and so I fall in love with the individual, you know, for their personality and their mind first, as opposed to, you know, gender being like a huge factor into it. So, you know, it's just about who you really click with, for me anyway. I'm sure other people may have more specific, you know, definitions to them. Cause, you know, I think sexuality really is personal. And it's not necessarily an objective thing, but, yeah. So pansexual and bisexual are similar in that, but there are little differences and nuances that warrant its own category, I guess.
And how do you plan on making these characters be funny?
Oh, their personalities are so goddamn funny. I mean, so for example, Jake, he wants to be an actor. He's very pretty. He is a terrible actor. You know, he is,
I actually think I know someone like that.
I think we all know someone like that.
Just don't talk. Just stand there.
Right, exactly. But he's like a drama queen, and he's very in touch with his feelings. And though he appears like outwardly very masculine, you know, he's a man very in touch with his feelings, and he's not afraid to cry about anything and everything. You know, he sees a baby or a cute puppy, he's like brought to tears. He's like, how is that, you know, so perfect and special? So it's really just playing around with a lot of the tropes that we're used to. You know, I'm not interested in writing any hyper masculine men that aren't subversive in some way. You know, so he looks like a frat boy grown up, but he's, you know, he's very much, you know, like an outspoken feminist, and, you know, living in the suburbs with his 2 partners. You know, he just doesn't understand why anybody wouldn't accept them or be nice to them. He doesn't understand why homophobia exists. He doesn't understand why any kind of, you know, he's basically a human version of a puppy. Like, if you think about it, like a very handsome puppy, I guess.
Most puppies are very cute.
Exactly. And then the other characters, you know, our character Cricket, she's very blunt and subversive in that way, where it's a lot of like deadpanning and stuff, you know, giving these characters moments to really just be funny by being themselves.
Is this your first comedy piece?
Oh, no. I mean, I've done a ton of comedies. I did a short called Politically Correct, and that's been on the festival circuit for a while. And we just got VOD through REVRY, which is an LGBTQ streaming platform.
Nice.
And I have another in post-production called Welcome to MA, which I won't spoil. But
what does MA stand for? Like,
well, that's the whole thing. So, spoiler, I'll say it. Basically, I set it up as this kind of drama, and then they start talking, and you find out that it's a Mansplainers Anonymous meeting.
I love it.
And so I like writing stuff that has like a social justice undertone, but really just to kind of make people laugh and make people understand through comedy. Though I'm not trying to educate the masses, I think they will find themselves educated by watching the kind of comedy work I do.
You know what's really funny about you saying that is that's kind of what the vibe that I got from looking at your work is that I do think that both social justice and education seem to be a really strong through line in the stuff that you do.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think just education is a byproduct of what I try to do. It's not even intentional. It's people haven't seen, they don't know what asexual means. They don't know what some of the terms I use in those films are. And it's not to be pedantic, but I think the movies you make kind of shapes what you want people to see. And I try to, just include LGBTQ folks in it. I try to include people of color, stuff because it's BS because nobody else is doing it. I can name the number of out filmmakers in Kansas City on one hand that I know of.
Are there a lot of filmmakers in Kansas City that you know?
There are quite a lot. It's like I couldn't count all of them on both hands or by any means. But there is a strong film community here in Kansas City, so I've been really lucky to get my start here before I venture out to New York or Los Angeles or whatever it may be.
That's so funny you say that because I was wondering, I love the fact that you're in Kansas and making stuff with people that are around you. I mean, not to say that there aren't any drag Black Lives Matter activists here in Los Angeles, but
yeah.
But I mean, you're finding original voices and original stories where you are. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think anywhere you go, people have something to say. I feel like people have something to say, whether or not it warrants its own movie, maybe different, but they're really talented people. I mean, Kansas City is really strong for commercial work, and we've been getting more features. I mean, American Honey filmed here, and I was a production assistant on that, and 3 movies shot here this summer, and then 1 during the fall. I mean, feature films. I mean, well, we have a really kick-ass film office here. Steph Scuppum's our film commissioner, and she's been really, really great at her job, and the people that she works with are great at their jobs. And so production has been really booming in the last couple years here in KC, and it's been really great to be a part of it. And Lawrence, where I live specifically, it's outside of Kansas City. It's an interesting place because it's the only liberal part of Kansas. And so you meet a lot of interesting people who have flocked to Lawrence for a sense of, trying to find solace, but also, it's not perfect. There are problematic folks everywhere. But
how far outside of Kansas City is Lawrence? 45
minutes.
Okay.
So,
and how many people are there?
It's a college town. It's where the University of Kansas is. So the numbers fluctuate. So 39,000 people go to KU.
That's big.
So, yeah. So, but then there are people who just live here the rest of the time. There are a lot of townies. So, it's good. There's a mix of really cool people, and the local Black Lives Matter, chapter is really active here, and I help them out with media and, try to do my best to support them and the other activist causes. People from Lawrence have been really big on going to Standing Rock and supporting them. So it's a great place to live, and it's been a great place to kind of come into my own as a person, but also as a filmmaker.
So speaking of that, taking it back to the beginning, how did you know that you wanted to be a filmmaker?
I feel like I tell this story so much to like my friends that they are just fucking sick of hearing it. But like, honestly, I saw the movie Chasing Amy at age 12.
Okay. And
Chasing Amy can be considered a controversial movie when it comes to, you know, the LGBTQ community. Maybe not for older folks so much, and like, you know, younger people don't know the movie as well as I would hope. You know, it's on Netflix, go watch it. It's weird because that movie's rated like the number 3 rom-com on Netflix, and let me tell you, it is not a rom-com.
I've seen it.
Yeah, okay, so you feel me. Anyway, I saw that movie at 12, which is way too young to see that movie, and it's considered controversial by a lot of standards because they're like, oh, a guy falls in love with a lesbian and they get together, what a male fantasy. But I completely disagree. I think it's about a, you know, pansexual, bisexual woman who is just kicking ass and like not dealing with like all this like heteronormative bullshit from these nerdy nice guy dudes. Like, I think it's a great film, and it's a great example of love and loss in relationships. And, you know, obviously my analysis of it has become more nuanced over time in the last 10 years. It's been like, but it's really the film that made me want to make films and to be a writer. I really thoroughly enjoy that movie still. I mean, I'll watch it the day before I go out and direct, and it reminds me of the qualities I find in movies that are good.
Who was the director with that? I can't remember.
Kevin Smith.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see that. I could see his influence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I need to figure out why my dog... Hey, come here.
No problem.
Come. Go. Sit. Thank you. And chill. Thank you very much.
My dog's just sleeping like a little bread loaf next to me. Well, when he lays down, he looks like a loaf of bread with ears. He's just tan and tubby.
I don't know if I'm going to cut that or not. I'm not sure. But,
whatevs.
So we've talked about the Kansas filmmaking scene. You guys are hot and popping. You've got a little community going on. What organizations are you a part of that support filmmaking efforts in your area?
Oh shit, there are so many around here. There's Kansas City Women in Film and Television. I'm on the board for that. And there's this local program on the local PBS affiliate called Cinema KC. They're really supportive of local film, and my film Sketches is going to be on there, and that premiered at Slamdance, and so it's nice to see it come full circle. And like at the beginning of the year, you know, premiered at this kick-ass festival that I couldn't believe I was a part of, and you know, now it's going to be on, you know, the local PBS station, which is great.
That is really cool.
And there's Women of Lawrence Film, run by, you know, Marlo Angel, who's the director of the Free State Festival in Lawrence, which is a great film festival. Laura Kirk, who is, you know, an incredible actor. She was in Lisa Picard is Famous, and she was recently in American Honey. And Christy Dobson and Misty Boland, who's, you know, a great director in her own right. So there's a really supportive community here, and even if you're not explicitly part of an organization, it's a great place to get started, and it's a great place to grow as an artist and a person, because everybody here is just so good and supportive of one another. You know, I hear about other markets, like even smaller markets smaller markets in Kansas City where people are very territorial about things, and they don't want new people to come in. And that's just like the opposite feeling here, if you ask me, because people have taken me under their wing as I've grown. And sorry, that was my dog snorting. He's just laying on his back getting a belly rub, and he just decided to let out the biggest snort. That is hilarious.
That's awesome.
God, he's a ham. But you know, but people are just so damn nice, and they're good here. Like I don't feel like there's that shitty feeling of like, you know, someone's gonna screw me over later, or they don't really want me here. Like, people want to pass on what they've learned, and they want to have a richer community. And it's a really nice feeling. Laura Kirk has been great for me with that. Matt Jacobson, who is the director of photography on Kevin Wilmot's movies like Confederate States of America, and Patrick Ray, who has a new movie called Enclosure coming out. Like, those three have been hugely influential in helping me get started, and I'm eternally grateful for it.
How were you able to connect with them in terms of getting mentorship?
Just meeting people. I mean, honestly, like, I went out to this event a couple of years ago, and I knew nothing. All I knew is that I wanted to direct, but, like, my anxiety, like, it made it really difficult. But, I just got brave one day, and I went with a friend to one of these film events, and I talked to a guy who was sitting by himself, and that led to meeting Patrick's wife, Kristen, and we stayed friends after that, and I cast Kristen in my first short, Politically Correct, and then her husband, Patrick, needed some help on one of his shorts, and then he made me his assistant director, and I had no idea what I was doing, but, he was really helpful, and now I can AD professionally, and people pay me to do it. And, I recently finished being the co-producer, one of the co-producers, and the assistant director on the last feature he did. So I've been really able to grow through those relationships. And I met Matt through KU Film School, and Laura, I don't remember exactly how I met her now. Probably through KU Film and, Women of Lawrence film meetings and stuff like that. And they've just all been hugely helpful in helping me grow. And I'm so grateful to them for the opportunities they've given me.
So it sounds like you might not be in Kansas forever.
It'd be nice to be able to travel around and just do as much great work as possible. Yes. Ideally, I end up in New York, and then I can always come back to Kansas City to see my family and to see my friends and to help my friends and work with my friends.
So you would pick New York over LA as your next stop?
Well, the ultimate goal is to be a TV showrunner, so, like, going to LA seems kind of mandatory in a way, but ideally,
unless you want to work with HBO.
Yeah, no, that's the dream is HBO or Netflix, and so I think it'd be just really cool to be able to be a showrunner in New York. That's like the best case scenario. I have an apartment in Chelsea with my partner and our 7 dogs, and then I get to be a showrunner. I'm
just going to tell you now, you're not going to have 7 dogs in Chelsea.
But I love if I have 7 pugs.
No,
nope.
Sorry, dude. You're not. There's not going to be enough space for 7 dogs in Chelsea.
I mean, you underestimate how small pugs can be. Honestly, no, but I'm good with our 1 dog. But my partner wants a lot of dogs and, like, all the pets, basically. Like, if we can
what is your dog's name?
House. His name's Teddy. He's a great dog. He's just hamming it up, sitting beside me.
Hi, Teddy. Tell her you don't need 6 siblings.
Dogs are great, though. If I could just have dogs with me all the time, it'd be amazing. I always take Teddy to set when I'm directing now.
Really?
Yeah, and he's a great set dog. He sleeps, and he's a very calming presence, and like, everything runs very smoothly, and there's no panicking or anything. Not that there would be anyway, but, like, it is very calming, to have the dog on set, and people seem to really like it. And, if we're shooting in a small room, like, people can just, like, sit in the next room, like, who aren't, rigging something or, Hollywooding something or whatever, and they can just sit with the dog, and it's a very quiet, nice atmosphere.
And you're not worried about the dog barking or playing?
He never barks.
He never barks.
Yep, and he will sleep for as long as you let him. He sleeps at least 14 hours a day. No, I really do have he's a great set dog.
I am so impressed. I mean, my dog doesn't necessarily bark unless there's someone at the door or near the door, But she will not sit still. If there are people around, she wants to play and hug and lick and all those things. Like, there's
he'll just like sleep in a stranger's lap, honestly.
Like, okay, so that's the trick of it. You need to actually give your dog some drugs beforehand, so she'll sleep. Okay.
No, he's. I swear, I don't dope him up. I mean, honestly, the worst thing about having him on set is that sometimes he'll snore in the middle of a take, and I have to like tell the actors, like, no, it's not a reflection of your performance. He's just a little jerk. We just take him out of the room, and someone will just like sit with him by craft services or something, if that's the case.
That is too funny. So maybe New York, maybe LA after that, but somewhere with the 7 dogs is ultimately the goal.
They made a joke on Broad City one time that I was making before I even knew that was a joke on there. But I said I wanted to retire to a pug ranch, and like, they said like pug farm or something. I'm like, all right, Abby Jacobson, like we're the same. I get it.
That's too funny. Speaking of television shows, so you have a podcast that people can check out, and it's called
Girls Who Like Girls.
Girls Who Like Girls. Now, I know what it's about, but you should tell us what the show is about.
It's a little show where me and 2 of my friends we sit around and we just riff about whatever Girls episode played that day, and we talk about like the accuracies of how it depicts millennial white women, specifically a very specific niche demographic. Which I guess isn't niche because it's a lot of people, but it is very targeted in on those specific people. And the reason that I want to do the show is because my freshman year of college, I met a group of friends who spot on were just like the girls on the show. And if you know the show, you know who Ray is, and I'm like the Ray of the group, where I'm just like, why are you doing this? Why does this happen? Why do you think this is a good idea? Stuff like that.
I've actually never seen it.
I mean, it's a very specific show. I mean, they're all awful. You have to go into it knowing that. But I genuinely think out of all the TV I'm watching that it's the best written show on TV, specifically because they never waste a moment. Every line of dialogue is telling about the characters on a really deep subtextual level, and I could riff about it for hours, which is what I do on the show. But I think that there's never a wasted moment, and that's what I find so impressive, and that's why I continue to watch it, because if you're looking at it as an attempt to become a better writer, I think you'll find it just by watching it. You don't agree?
I'm sure it's great writing. I just find, how do I say, I just don't think that, what's the girl's name who is in charge?
Lena
Dunham. You see, like, she's not a part of my reality so much. And I'm not a part of her so much either, and I feel like it's okay. We can live in our separate
for sure. It's not a show for everybody, and it's definitely not for everybody. And it's also, I also don't hold any malice towards people who don't like Lena Dunham or her writing or what she has to say about the world, because it's a very specific vision, to say the least. I just happen to have related to it just by seeing my friends act that way. And that's the appeal for me. But
how long have you guys been doing the show?
We only started with season 5, so we were a little late. But it's just a fun time for the 3 of us and our producer Matt Mendoza. So it's different strokes for different folks, but we acknowledge that the show is problematic, but we do enjoy the writing of it, and that's why we don't stop watching.
I can relate and understand that. Like, I'm like watching stuff because well, I would say it's not me. Like, I still don't watch reality shows, but I think that's why some people like reality shows. Like, it's terrible, but I love it.
I think the show itself is really well done. Mm-hmm. I think the characters are purposefully terrible, and I love that about it. I love unlikable characters. I love unlikable protagonists. I love, mediocre people in these worlds achieving very little, and it's still considered a success. I love shows like that, and I can't imagine a show that's more on point for that vision than this show. Mm-hmm. I think it's hilarious.
So I have a question for you. In terms of the work that you choose to spend a lot of time on and put your energy into, it seems like you have a strong social justice slant.
For sure.
Do you think that is a responsibility that we each have as artists now, or is it still very optional?
I think for a lot of people it's optional, and I think they choose not to pursue it, which, I can't hold that against them, because, people are just writing about the realities that they see in their head. You can't force shit like that. And I wish that content was more intersectional. And when I say that, I mean, like, I don't expect somebody whose niche is like horror films, I don't expect them to be the greatest LGBTQ films of all time. But you see people...
But how great would that be?
Yeah, no, I agree. But I don't expect, like, straight white dudes who make, like, a very specific niche, I don't hold them to that standard, because I think I would just be disappointed. So I try to enjoy work for what it is. Mm-hmm. But I personally feel a sort of responsibility for it, just because I don't see anything that represents me or people I know or people I love. Chasing Amy was like the one movie I saw as a kid where two girls kissed, or that had like a bisexual woman in it. And so that experience for me is just, I want to put stuff into the world that I wanted to see. Mm-hmm. And, some people wanted to see different kinds of comedies, and I want hilarious comedies starring LGBTQ folks, but people who aren't exclusively LGBTQ. It's not just, like a bunch of white gays, because I feel like we have that now. Mm-hmm. Like, I want trans people. I want people of color. I want people who are just different, but they're so fucking funny, And I think that the idea that, a Latina, queer character can't be a hilarious character and is just like a fucking punchline for, deportation jokes like Pitch Perfect 2. I think that's shitty. And, so I'm trying to little by little change what I have control over.
But do you find that how are you able to walk that line between being funny versus being the punchline?
Well, it just depends on which way you're punching, if you ask me. So
I'm asking.
I think that making people, giving them the chance to be funny, as opposed to, so example, Pitch Perfect 2. They introduce a Latinx character just to have her make deportation jokes the whole time. Or Colombian drug lord jokes. And that's really, that's not funny, but also how does that progress the story? Like, if I have a really snarky character who's unapologetically queer, that's just a funny character. It's not making fun of, she's not making fun of herself. She's not attacking an entire group of people,
I see.
So, like, I try to have these characters, live their truths as authentically as possible, but try to write as many jokes for them to shine as possible. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. It's not something that I've found necessarily difficult, but I do think that my first short, Politically Correct, really touches on the anxieties of trying to walk that line and how you're not going to be perfect, but at least you're fucking trying to do something different.
Well, who do you see in mainstream television and or film that you think is kind of doing it right, doing intersectionality right?
I mean, Shonda Rhimes and Pete Nowak from How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal. I mean, those shows are just effortlessly great about it. Even like the CW with their like DC superhero shows. I mean, I think that they
like
really...
Supergirl?
Yeah, dude, I love Supergirl. I think that show's awesome. And I also think, like Flash does it right and Arrow does it pretty well. And, but How to Get Away with Murder is one show that immediately came to mind. Orphan Black is another show that I think does it pretty damn well.
I love Orphan Black.
See, I mean, you got Cosima, you've got a lot of great characters on that show, and it's really plot focused. It's really focused around the story. So by introducing characters who are different and, having these meaningful relationships, it feels effortless. It's not like, oh, we're going to add a gay character just because.
Right.
There's no tokenism, I feel.
Right. And I can see that too in the How to Get Away with Murder. And I mean, all those characters are awful people, and we still love them. Viola Davis plays one of the most evil characters I have ever seen, and it's amazing, and I love it. But it's not like this whole thing where it's like playing into these horrible stereotypes. Like she's a deeply flawed character who is written extraordinarily well. Right. And acted extraordinarily well, too. She
brings
even more layers to it.
Oh, my God. She's, if I could have dinner with anybody, I'd want to have dinner with her just to be like, how did you do this? How did you get so good? Are you just born with, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. How did she get so good? No, seriously. Hey, Viola, we want to
have her on our show next week.
Just come on. Yeah, right? Just come on and give us 15 minutes of how did you get so good? It's possible. These things are possible.
Right, exactly. IMDb Pro makes it easy.
Oh, man. Okay. Next step will be Viola Davis telling us all how to do it right.
You got to hit me up so I can hear that advice.
So going forward, looking forward for you, what are you excited about coming up next in your life?
Graduating from college. And
yay.
That's going to be great. I'm excited about that. And I'm just looking forward to all the relationships I'm going to make, wherever I go. And, all the friendships that I've made here. And, I really care about, these amazing people I've been able to meet on this so far short journey. But it's awesome to be able to collaborate with people that you met online and that somebody recommended to you or something like that. It's, I did a 48-hour project for fun. And I had a couple from Iowa that I had met on a feature come into town for it.
Wow.
And somebody I had never met, from Omaha, Nebraska, who just wanted to be on a team, came. And I feel like those are in both instances, those are friendships I will have for the rest of my life now. So, I'm really looking forward to more of that and to, seeing my friends grow and being able to grow with them and, hopefully move into New York or LA and finding some success there.
So I'm going to not pick a place for you. I was getting ready to. I'm like, you should go to it. And I'm like, Marquette, be quiet. But either way, either which coast you go to, I do wish you the best of luck with everything. And I just want to just encourage you to continue, making stories that reflect the reality that you want to see on screen. I think that's fantastic. And anything that I can do to support you along that way, please let me know. Come back on the show. Tell me about the things.
Thank you so much for having me. And, anytime you need support, let me know, because I've had a really great time talking with you and getting to know you throughout this. And I'm glad we were able to to do this. This is fucking fun.
This was very, very fun. You're the only person I know who curses more than me. It's been great.
Oops. Hopefully you don't have to bleep me out every time.
No, I just have to like change the little button on the thing to let people know someone's going to curse. It'll be fine.
Oops.
It'll be awesome. But before you go, let us know where people can find you online or where they can find your work.
Great. SavannahRogers.com, RODGERS, because I spell Rogers the right way.
And there's 2 N's in Savannah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And are you going to tell us about your Twitter handle? Or?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Snackpack, SNACPACK. Sometimes I tweet about social justice things, and the others times I just tweet about Fuller House because I'm addicted to it. I'm sorry. But it's pictures of my dog, live tweets, and social justice shit. So sorry.
That sounds great. That sounds like a really great mix. Really great mix. So we'll look out for that, and you'll have to tweet out what the name of your documentary is going to be, because I really want to see that too.
I will. You will be the first person I tell. How about that?
That sounds so fascinating. I'm like, okay, yes. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And while you're here, I'm just going to shout myself out and say my birthday's coming. This will probably be released on my birthday to give me something exciting. So if you guys are listening, hit me back and just say, hey girl, happy birthday. Because it'll be that time of the year. By the time this comes out.
Yeah.
But thank
happy
you
birthday.
so much. Right. Thanks. It's birthday month.
Officially the first person to wish you a happy birthday. So
You are. Yay.
This is a lifelong friendship we're developing here.
Right here, right now. You know what it is? It's because I'm originally from Ohio, which is not that close to Kansas, but at least like it's, you know, like we just vibe. We're just vibing across those ways.
I feel you. I know some great people from Ohio.
Mm-hmm,
and now I know another one.
And now you know one more. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you guys for listening.
You've been listening to Directing Magic with Marquette Jones. Be sure to visit directingmagic.com for past episodes and other information relating to the show. Also, be sure to subscribe and rate and comment on iTunes. Until next time, bye-bye.